Where does how do you manage? It's kind of a general question, but you can kind of pick it apart. But just where does pain fit in with your system in terms of, obviously you can see somebody move and then determining, ask them, well, how do you feel? And if they say, oh, that really hurts, but then you can still get some mobility there. How do you manage the pain side? And I know it's a very subjective thing.
Yeah, pain is the number one barrier to range of motion. So you have to respect pain, but there's pain and then there's pain, right? There's pain where you're determining that there's pathological tissue injury here, in which case the desire for more range is it's probably not your most important goal at that time, right? And then there's the pain, which is lingering pain, where people, they've had pain for a long time, that pain becomes chronic. And that's the type of pain where they might have a decreased threshold, or they just have a chronic pain situation, in which case your advice is the opposite. If someone has tissue pain that's legitimate, then rest and heal the tissue. If someone has the other pain, you get them to move. But to say, how do you deal with pain, it's kind of it's too difficult a question. It's not an answerable question for that reason. And one thing I like to do is when someone asks a question, I like to think, is it answerable, or do I have to ask a bunch more follow-ups? And in this case, I would have to ask a bunch more follow-ups. Having said that, pain science is real, and the complexity of pain is way more complicated than people want to give it credit for. So I respect the pain, and so much to the extent where, as a sport chiropractor and as a trainer, I don't think I deal with pain, right? I think that pain is like a secondary, pain relief is a secondary byproduct of people moving well. But I really think that as a manual therapist and as a trainer, the job has to be focused on function, right? And the byproduct of good function is often a reduction in pain. And on top of that, there is pain relieving measures, but to call that the focus of what I'm doing, I think I should have been I think there's different professions that might be better off dealing with pain problems, like psychologists, for example, rheumatologists, neurologists in that fashion. So I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, you don't move into pain. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. The other thing is that people also don't distinguish those two types of pain. So for example, I'll always say, if you're moving a joint and the range limiting tissue in the joint motion is on the closing side of the joint. So for example, if you lift your arm up into flexion and I can't go any further, and I go, why can't you go any further? And someone points behind them. Or if they go into a squat and they point to the front of the ankle and they go, I can't go any further because it hurts here when I'm in the basement of a squat. That's what I refer to as closing angle pain. And if you look at articular motion in the human body, the range limiting tissue should always be located on the opening angle. If it's located on the closing angle, then likely you have a space issue where either you don't have enough space to do the motion, or you have too much shitty sloppy space where you're actually pinching tissue because there's not enough control of the motion. So There's pain, and then there's pain.